The Imperial Hall stretched before Commander Jace Morton like a gilded cage, all marble columns and crystalline chandeliers that refracted light into 1,000 dancing fragments. He stood at attention, dress uniform crisp and uncomfortable, while Emperor Thalon droned on about duty and legacy and the absolute necessity of securing alliances through marriage. Jace barely listened. His mind was elsewhere, calculating junk coordinates and supply routes for the next patrol mission along the Outer Rim. Anything to avoid thinking about the parade of potential brides, assembled before him like merchandise on display. "You will choose today," the Emperor said, his voice echoing across the vast chamber. "The Galactic Council demands it. Humanity needs this alliance." Jace's jaw tightened. 6 months ago, he'd been a simple patrol commander, keeping pirates away from trade routes and occasionally mediating disputes between colonies. Then came the First Contact War, 3 brutal weeks of confusion and violence that nearly destroyed Earth's fledgling star empire. Peace had come at a price: cultural exchange, diplomatic marriages, integration into a galactic community that viewed humans as dangerous upstarts. Now here he stood, ordered to pick an alien wife from representatives of 6 different species. The first candidate stepped forward, a Velen female whose skin shimmered like oil on water. She was beautiful by any standard, her movements graceful and deliberate. She spoke in perfectly rehearsed English about trade agreements and mutual prosperity. Jace nodded politely, feeling nothing. The second was a Krell, towering and dignified, with eyes like molten gold. She discussed military strategy and defensive pacts. Impressive, certainly, but her words felt scripted, calculated. 3 more followed, each representing their species with practiced diplomacy. Each one blurred together in Jace's mind, indistinguishable in their perfection and polish. Then came the last one. She didn't glide forward like the others. She strode into the presentation area with the confidence of someone who owned the ground beneath her feet. She was Ractor, a species humanity had fought bitterly during the war. 7 feet of corded muscle and bronze-scaled skin, with eyes that burned like red embers. Her name was Kira, and she looked like she'd rather be fighting than standing in this ceremonial farce. Unlike the others, she wore no diplomatic finery. Her clothing was functional, combat-ready. A warrior's garb. "Commander Morton," she said, her voice a low rumble that carried easily across the hall. She didn't bow, didn't curtsy, didn't perform any of the expected diplomatic niceties. "I am Kira of Clan Brightspear. I'm told you need a wife. I'm told my people need this alliance. So here I am." The Emperor's advisors shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't how the presentation was supposed to go. Jace found himself interested for the first time all day. "You don't seem pleased about this arrangement." "I'm not," Kira said bluntly. "I'm a fighter, not a trophy. But my people bled in the war, just as yours did. If this prevents more bloodshed, I'll do my duty. Even if that duty means marrying a human?" Her eyes narrowed. "Even then, though I question the wisdom of forcing warriors into political games. You and I both know this is theater." Jace couldn't help the slight smile that tugged at his lips. Finally, someone honest. The other candidates looked scandalized. The Velen representative actually gasped. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. "Commander Morton, perhaps you would like more time to consider—" "No," Jace interrupted, surprising himself. "I've made my choice. I choose Kira of Clan Brightspear." The hall erupted in whispers. The Emperor's face went through several interesting colors before settling on diplomatic neutrality. The other candidates retreated with varying degrees of grace or indignation. Kira simply stared at him, those ember eyes searching his face. "You're either brave or stupid, human. My people and yours were killing each other 6 months ago." "I know," Jace said. I was there. Probably killed some of your clan brothers. And I probably killed some of yours, she replied without flinching. So why choose me? The Velen offered trade routes. The Krell offered fleet support. What do the Ractor offer except bad memories? Jace walked toward her, closing the distance until they stood a few feet apart. Even in his dress boots, she towered over him. They offer honesty. You didn't lie or flatter or pretend this was anything other than what it is. That's worth more than trade routes. Kira's expression shifted slightly, something that might have been respect flickering across her features. You might be less stupid than I thought. Might be. The bonding ceremony was scheduled for 3 days later, barely enough time for either of them to process what they'd agreed to. Jace spent those days finalizing patrol schedules and trying to ignore the political firestorm his choice had created. Half the Imperial Council thought he'd lost his mind. The other half saw it as either brilliant diplomacy or catastrophic provocation. He didn't care much about either interpretation. On the second day, Kira found him in the training hall, working through combat forms with a practice blade. She watched from the doorway for several minutes before speaking. Your footwork is sloppy, she observed. Jace paused, breathing hard. Constructive criticism from my future wife. How romantic. Romance is a human concept. Ractor value competence. She stepped into the ring, pulling a practice staff from the weapons rack. Defend yourself? She didn't wait for his agreement. The staff came whistling toward his head fast enough that he barely got his blade up in time. The impact jarred his arms. You chose a warrior, Kira said, pressing the attack. That means you'd better be able to keep up. Jace found himself grinning despite the situation. This he understood. Not political maneuvering or diplomatic doublespeak, but the simple clarity of combat. He parried, riposted, fell into the rhythm of attack and defense. She was stronger, faster, and more experienced. She also fought with a directness that he found refreshing after years of military bureaucracy. No hidden agendas, no veiled threats. Just honest violence. When she finally disarmed him, sending his practice blade clattering across the floor, they were both breathing hard. Better than I expected, Kira admitted. Still sloppy, but teachable. Jace retrieved his blade, rubbing a bruised shoulder. High praise from a Ractor warrior. Don't let it go to your head, human. But there was something in her voice that wasn't quite hostile anymore. The ceremony is tomorrow. After that, we're bound by both our laws. You understand what that means? That we're stuck with each other? That we're clan, she corrected. Among my people, clan is everything. It's not about affection or desire. It's about loyalty, about standing together against the universe. Can you do that? Jace met her burning gaze steadily. I chose you, didn't I? You chose me because I was honest. That's not the same as commitment. No, he agreed. But it's a start. The ceremony itself was a hybrid of human and Ractor traditions, awkward and beautiful in equal measure. Jace spoke the binding words in halting Ractor, while Kira's English vows were perfect if coldly delivered. They exchanged tokens. He gave her a combat knife from his first command. She gave him a scale from her first kill. When it was done, they were married by the laws of two species. The reception was mercifully brief. Jace endured congratulations from people who thought he was either brilliant or insane, while Kira stood beside him like a bronze statue, radiating controlled violence. When they finally escaped to the quarters they'd been assigned, Jace poured himself a drink and collapsed into a chair. Well, he said, that was exhausting. Kira prowled the room like a caged predator, examining everything with tactical precision. These quarters are defensible. Single entrance, reinforced walls. Good sight lines. I wasn't really thinking about defense when I chose them. You should always think about defense, She paused by the window, looking out at the city lights below. This is strange for both of us. Understatement of the century. She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. I won't pretend to love you, Ewan. That may come, or it may not. But I will stand with you. I will fight beside you. That's what clan means. Jace stood, setting down his drink. I'm not asking for love, Kira. I'm asking for partnership. For honesty. For someone who won't lie to me about what this is. What is it, then? A chance, he said simply. A chance to build something new from the ashes of war. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but at least it's real. Kira studied him for a long moment, then extended her hand, palm up in the rector gesture of alliance. Then let's make it work, Commander. Together. Jace placed his hand in hers, feeling the warmth of her scaled skin, the strength in her grip. Together. Outside, the city sprawled beneath them, human and alien living side by side in an uneasy peace. The future was uncertain, full of challenges neither of them could predict. But standing there with his fierce alien bride, Jace felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope.